Playing lead over chord progressions is something that can be really, really mysterious and scary to a lot of guitar players. And there are a lot of different approaches that you can take to doing it. So as part of our Lead Secrets series, we're going to start talking about playing leads using triads. Now, I just played a very simple chord progression there. G and C. You can construct a lead over that using a pentatonic scale. You just have to throw in a few notes that are not necessarily part of the pentatonic scale to make it work when it goes to chord 4. You could make a lead over that using the whole major scale. Now, both of those kind of require practicing some patterns and understanding some things about scales and the relationship between chords. Now, that's not to say that that's not a good approach. It's a great approach. And many guitar players, the complete approach would be know every single note on the guitar, every single note that's in every chord that's being played at any given time, and the relationship between those, and then just play the right notes, and when you want to, play notes that don't sound quite as right, and then recover from those and make it sound cool. Okay, there are some players that can do that. Pat Metheny, John McLaughlin, a lot of the hardcore jazz guys, Joe Pass, they get that. And you could get that too, but there's a much easier way to break into playing nice, tasty little leads. And this is really the approach I've used almost my whole life to play leads. And that is using chord shapes, reducing them to just 3 strings, maybe 4 sometimes, we'll get further into that, and being able to move them up and down the neck. So rather than over my G to C chord progression, using my pentatonic scale, or my major scale, where the melody can get, you got to be a little more careful with when you hit what notes and how they relate to everything else. You might come up with something really simple. And you could easily hear the chord changes there as I was picking through those, because everything I played was one of the 3 notes that make up the chord. So that's what this set of lessons, or segments of upcoming videos, is going to do. It's going to take you into the world of playing along with a chord progression using triads. Now, the progression could be a little more complicated. And I might do something like this. And just through the notes I was playing there, you could hear the chord progression, as opposed to had I done this. That would have sounded okay over the chord progression I just played. Might have sounded even really good, but you couldn't really hear how that related to the chord progression. And when I played the set there just using the triads, you probably could hear this. So the little things I was adding in there were all harmonic, meaning parts of the chords. That's what we're going to get into in this. So we're going to take a look at 3-string reductions of chords derived from standard chords you know. E, A, and D are kind of our secret building blocks into how this works. So I'm going to review first a little bit about major scales and chords in a key. Some of that is not really, hopefully it's a review, but if it's not, don't worry, it's not necessarily that important for some of the things that we're doing here till a little bit later in the lesson, but we will be talking about the relationship between chords 1, 4, and 5, what chords are in major key, And then we will work into the world of these 3-string chords. There's a set of, I don't see them offhand right now, I know they're around here somewhere, but as I get into the next segments, we'll be taking a look at some handouts or some attachments that have diagrams of everything that we're going to be going into here. So there is kind of the syllabus of what we're going to do here. We're going to talk about using 3-string reductions of bigger chords to construct nice little lead patterns. Movable shapes are positions that your fingers can be in where you can slide them all up or down the neck, and there are no open strings involved, so that everything is moving equally. Now, the most common thing we do in the guitar, or the first thing we do in the guitar with stuff like this, is learning to play a bar chord. Bar chords are typically played from 2 standard shapes, an E shape and an A shape. So, first thing we have to do here is review 3 important shapes. Our next step is look at these 3-string reductions of how we can play triads on just the top 3 strings and where the root of each one is in that triad and also somewhere on one of the bass strings. So let's get in here close and I'll show you what they look like now up close. Well, my standard bar chord from the E family, 6-string bar chord, would look like this. I'm at the 2nd fret, which would make it an F sharp right here. And to reduce this to the 3 notes on the top 3 strings, I need to get rid of these 2 fingers, the bar, and replace the bar just across the 1st and 2nd strings. You've mastered all of this up to here, right? Because we're about to open a whole new can of worms. And what you have so far is the ability to add, assuming you've got all of this down, you've got the ability to add extra notes to whatever's going on in the harmony that are all harmonic notes. You're playing more notes of the chord that is already being played by the piano player or the strings or whoever, the mandolin player, the banjo player, whatever you have in your band. So you're just adding extra notes to the chord voicing to expand the range of what's happening. If I'm playing an E chord here and you're playing this or this, we have a bigger range of notes, ranging from my low E all the way to the high E that you're getting up in here, and it creates a thicker texture of sound. Simple arpeggios in one shape, G.